Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you another attempt to convince you to play Dreadmob the way that Dreadmob asked you to play it. I have held the opinion since the release of the Codex that Dreadmob is the best detachment. For the returning monstrosities, I'm sorry if you've heard me go on this spiel many times before, but now, probably better than ever, is a great time for you to play Dreadmob the way it asked you to play it. I.e., yes, finally taking walkers with things attached to mechs. So, the Tank Busters and the Breaka Boys are breaking everybody's minds. They had a pretty good showing weekend before last, and this past weekend everybody asked, where did the Orks go? And I'm here to say, easy. I don't really have that much faith in some of the other detachments, whether that be the stratagems being way too fucking niche, or the detachment rule being way too fucking niche. But, alas, here I am to say, play Dreadmob, with the things that Dreadmob buffs. So, why is now better than ever to play Dreadmob? Yesterday's video, it should be yesterday's, assuming I put this up right after. We'll see. Whatever. Yesterday's video, or at least the video before this one, or a video before this one, covered the fact that there was a Renegade Raiders list that had two Khorne Lord of Skulls. Go check out that video if you want me to go more in depth on that. But if it can go X and 1 at LVO, only losing to the winner of LVO and scoring pretty damn well, I think there's a conversation to be had about putting Titanic back into list, especially in a detachment that does not make it any easier for it. Then, going on, I want to talk about the fact that Imperial Knights Noble Lance has been doing pretty damn well recently. I talked about that for a bit because, Noble Lance things, and you go, yeah, but they're just bringing armigers. Well, that's not entirely true. In fact, we've seen quite a few lists go with Canis Rex and one or two other big titans. So that's why I'm at least going to say maybe, once again, you'll look at bringing Titanic. Custodes, Solar Spearhead. Now, not Titanic. But at the same time, I've been yelling at the Custodes players that that's enough eggs. Um, I think this is the flip side into which, yeah, they might have a stratagem for walkers to go through walls now. But at the same time, if they're making the motherfucking walkers work over here in Custodes, the walkers, mind you, working enough, right? I said that you got to reel back, but that's because I don't think you need to do three venerable contemptor dreadnoughts and three telebonds. I think there's enough walkers. You can use the other vehicles, but when it comes to Dreadmob, there's not enough walkers. The detachment tells you, here's a bunch of shit to make walkers good, and actually pretty damn good. So, looking over to Custodes, yeah, I think there's a blueprint here for walkers being at least semi-viable. And even going to Iconoclast Fiefdom for Chaos Knights, I realized, wait, Orcs had Iconoclast Fiefdom before it was cool, and now it just got better. A bunch of little shits that are battle line, surrounded by Titanic Walker vehicles that might get sustained or lethals. You know what? That's Dreadmump for you. Now, you would say, well, Chaos Knight's Iconoclast Fiefdom is not doing hot right now. And I'd agree. I really don't have anything past that, besides the fact I am asking Chaos Knight players to also maybe ease up on the fucking War Dog spam. If it's not working the entire edition, try something else. But hey, I'm yelling at Dreadmob today. So, let's talk about what you should be bringing, I think, for Dreadmob. given the things that we are seeing in the game right now. This also that's the caveat here. Given what we're seeing right now in the game, what should be happening from my observations? Gorkanaut. At the end of the day, if we can fit two Coin Lord of Skulls, 900 points for two T13, 3 up save, 5 up invuln, 24 wound Titanic vehicles. Sorry, this not even a walker, right? Not even a walker. Can't do funny shit, right? I think there's the conversation to be had about using 3 Gorkanauts. And why the Gorkanaut and not the Morkanaut? Well, let's pull up the Morkanaut really quickly. Because previously, I was a very big believer in the Morkanaut. Okay, maybe not that big of a believer, but I was like, well, you might as well try it. So the Morkanaut has 2 guns that do, 9 2 d6 and 10 2 d6, but both of them are hazardous. So you run the risk of inflicting wounds upon yourself for your 280 point model because of you want to punch up. But now, that little profile has been solved by the Tank Busters. Bun dun dun dun! They have come in with their rocket launchers at D3 hitting on 5s 923, and you would say, but monster. They are doing work in Tactical Brigade where you can give them +1 to hit. And I'd say that's wrong. They've been doing work in every fucking detachment because 120 points for this package is kinda goofy. They have finally given you not only effective shooting, because you can reroll when attached to the Big Mac with shock attack gun, if we're being honest, right? But also, you don't need the +1 to hit if you're using it to bust tanks. Because of tank hunters, excuse me. Each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack that targets a monster or vehicle unit, add 1 to the hit roll and add 1 to the wound roll. And guess what? If you are now hitting on 4s for your unit, right? And because you're a mech in Dread Mob, you can either get sustained lethals or bonus AP. And you can choose if you want. You will have to roll hazardous for that. But that doesn't sound like a bad thing when it's +1 to hit, reroll, and +1 to hit, +1 to wound versus your target, rerolls, and sustained or lethal or critical AP, right? So I say that to say that put the shit in fucking Dread Mob. Attach them to the Big Mechs with shock attack guns and do the thing. Maybe give one of them ignores cover. Maybe if you feel that they have something such as in Solar Spearhead, where they have, oh, what is it? Flawless construction, strength greater than toughness, -1 to wound. Right? Say that you are hitting a T8 vehicle for whatever reason, right? And then they go back to making you hit on 4s. If you really need to, you have bigger shells for bigger gets in the back pocket to put that shit back as an additional wound. Or if you just want to choose to push it to give bonus damage on these attacks. So, that in combination with pulsar rockets down here as an option. Once per battle, when the bearer's unit is selected to shoot in your shooting phase, the bearer can use its pulsar rocket. If it does until the end of the phase, improve the strength and AP characteristics of ranged attacks equipped by models in the bearer's unit by 1. So, now you are going to 10-3-3 for rocket launches, and if you choose to push it, 10-3-4. You are picking up whatever fucking monster vehicle you need. But going back to why I'm telling you to bring Gorkanauts now. Well, if the monsters and vehicles are taken care of, what about 20 wounds, T12, 3 up save, 6 up invuln, that can clear whatever fucking infantry because you have sustained, lethal, or bonus AP, same spiel, but you also have access to shit like Daka Daka Daka, into which you can reroll ones, and if you choose to push it, reroll the hit roll. Or bigger sales for bigger gets also works on them. You can make them assault. We've seen Titanic do assault apparently. So fuck it, maybe. I say that to say that yeah, I think there's a little bit of viability there, no? Also, I would like to add the fact that with the Gorkanaut being 265 points now, you can add, well, a mech to make it better. You're adding mechs in Dread Mob anyway. +1 to hit. Give the heals. No matter what, your opponent has to get through 20 wounds of Gorkanaut. Okay? That's 20 wounds of Gorkanaut. And I'll be honest, I'll give my true hot take here. I think it's time for triple, if not quadruple Gorkanauts. Or, sorry, knots. Right? I'm thinking triple Gorkanaut, one Morkanaut. Just because you want that amount of wounds on the table nowadays. Looking at a very killy meta. We're looking at Ultramarines with double oath thanks to Robu Gillyman, right? I'm just saying, if one goes pop, it's not the biggest deal. And because it's 20 wounds, it does still take an amount of time. And then if you make that 20 wounds 40 wounds, that's a bit of time. And if you make that 40 wounds 60 wounds, that's a bit of time. You're looking at Deathstorm Mega Shooter with Rapid Fire 10, 36 inches. So in 18 inches, you have 30 shots hitting on 5s for now with the mech going down to 4s. Strength 6, AP 1, damage 1. Sustained, lethal, whatever, you get the point from Dread Mob. I don't have to keep saying it. Add rocket launchers that are non-hazardous in there to finish up the job whatever Tank Busters didn't do. Scorchers, guess what? It's a flamer. Or Scorcha on each Gorkanaut. It's a flamer. So, yeah, guess what? You don't have to roll for the fucking hit. You just get to pick some shit up. So if you have the little guys picking up the big shit, and the big shit picking up the little guys, what do you have to do next? Score points. I think we can score points in Dread Mob because our Gretchin have become battle line. These little guys, 11 models for 40 points. Let them go do other shit. While you have Gorkanauts picking up whatever, and Tank Busters picking up whatever. And I would like to add, both of these are now more powerful because they break the, for lack of better words, they break the mold. When usually you have to have a tank for a tank and infantry for infantry, your opponent now has to play a little bit differently. Yeah, they can send their anti-tank into the Gorkanaut, but the thing that's going to kill them is the Tank Busters. And usually, the things that the Tank Busters are aiming for don't have the shots to get through one group of Tank Busters. And the Tank Busters are infantry that can go within transports, such as a Gorkanaut. They can also go into, well, battle wagons and trucks. You know, both are cheaper. But if now your opponent has the surprise where they are aiming for their tank to take down your tank, out comes the Tank Busters and pops them. 24-inch range, right? Or vice versa. Your opponent was about to send a bunch of infantry into Tank Busters. Now, mind you, you don't have a reactive move for the Tank Busters. You do fire the Gretchin over here, right? With conniving runts. But guess what? The things that were going to try to punch your, whoopsie, Tank Busters now have to figure out how they're going to punch a Gorkanaut. That's just from a typical, not only just Warhammer design standpoint, but game design standpoint. Usually infantry on infantry, big thing versus big thing, right? That's usually how that goes. But here we have Goliath slaying Davids, and David slaying Goliaths, right? So, that's the main case to be said. We have tank busters now. We can attach them to big mechs with shock attack guns. Going to 10-5 D6? Yeah, that's pretty gross. And I should also note, nothing says that they have to only hit monsters and vehicles. you can still pick up the other fucking infantry that might be left on a couple of wounds from the Gorkanaut. If it's something that's a little bit more elite for the Gorkanaut, where maybe 30 shots of lethal hits didn't really do it, right? Let's just say that it didn't fucking do it, okay? Uh, you know, 30 shots, let's lowball it. 20, 21, 22 shots out of the Gorkanaut somehow. I take that back because it's two rocket launchers and two twin big shooters. Either way, you get the point. Lowballing it. 30ish shots, didn't pick up that squad, fuck it, right? You can still send the tank busters rocket launchers into that squad. If it's something that's T8, T9 infantry, right? I can't think of one right now, but the squad of, or let's just say that it is going into sevens, right? You have fucking the AdMech Radium Dragoons. I made that recently. Sorry, that's the first one I could think that was T7. All right, maybe your Gorkanaut and Morkanaut had. I did that backwards. Had a little bit of trouble. You can still send the tank busters into that. And mind you, all of this shit is getting either sustained or lethal or bonus AP, and you can pick depending on what the fuck the situation calls for. Going past that, you have Breaka Boys. That, again, if they pop out of a Gorkanaut or Morkanaut, they won't be able to charge that turn, right? And I suggest you attach these to the big mech. That way you have reroll advance rolls, reroll charge rolls for that WA turn. This can also just beat the ass of whatever monster vehicle might have given your Morkanaut or Gorkanaut a tough time. Attach them to the big mech. Gretchin, like I said, objective doers, hold shit. You might be asking, this sounds like a lot of command points out the way that you're talking about these stratagems. Well, with Gretchin, guess what? At the start of your movement phase, roll 1d6 for each objective marker you control that has one or more units from your army with this ability within range of it, excluding Battle Shock unit. If one or more of those rolls is a 4 up, you gain 1 CP. You're bringing Battle Line Gretchin. Might as well see if you can roll some additional command points for the shenanigans you want to do. Also to be stated, you can put them in whatever the fuck. Maybe you make Trojan horses of Gorkanauts, where it's fucking a bunch of Gretchin coming out of the Gorkanaut, and you have tank busters in something more easily moved around battle wagons, right? You could do that. There's Gretchin for you. Zodgrod. If you're bringing Dreadmob and you're bringing Gretchin, you're probably bringing Zodgrod. While this model is leading the unit, models in that unit have Scouts 9. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll and 1 to the wound roll. Each time an attack targets the unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. While the Y is active for your army, plus 6 to the move characteristics of models in this model's unit. 80 points. Bring Zodgrod. You're bringing the Gretchin anyway. But to go over here to talk about the things that I mentioned before doing okay, Solar Spearhead just came out from Grotmas. Hey, I know some people are still really tied to Talon, so that's to be said for here and there, but recently we got another result doing pretty okay with Solar Spearhead to the people that want to take it. What was I talking about with Imperial Knights? This is what I was talking about with Imperial Knights. Like, you can do it. You can do it. Now, what was the. Ah, well, the CSM isn't on this. But, hey, that video's up there. I'm just saying, I get it. I understand if we want to play the Bully Boys, the Green Tide, the Tactical Brigade, the Warhorde. I understand that. But it's been way too long since we've done some things with Dreadmob, and Dreadmob is not nearly that bad. I I I think we just let the shooting list go. If you want to do the shooting list, you have it in Tactical Brigade now, where you just put a bunch of fucking flaskets and mech guns and looters. And you can do all of that probably better in Tactical Brigade. But I do think it's time you play Dread Mob with Dread Mob shit. And then enjoy the results. At the end of the day, 60 wounds for 700 is 800 points. No, 800 to 900 points. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not that bad. Especially when we're looking at other Titanic doing the damn thing. So, yeah, that's just my take. Once again, play Dread Mob. And play Dread Mob the way Dread Mob is asking you to. I'm not saying you have to go completely turbo. I brought all of my walkers the way that we're seeing Solar Spearhead do. But on the flip side, Dread Mob has gone too long with playing with absolutely none of the walkers. Or, yeah, none of the walkers. Like, there's a decent enough list there to at least try some shit. We've even seen Def Dredge and fucking Tactical Brigade and Warhort lately. So, try your walkers and report back. If it goes absolutely terribly, I don't know, man. Other people's Titanics are doing shit, and I just want ours to do things. So, yeah. If you like the video, like it. Got a comment from me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.